Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yep, basically we're just regular dudes drinking irregular beers, talking about Magic the Gathering, and we play on Arena, so that's what we talk about.
Yep, we talk about arena formats such as Historic, which is going to be the bulk of this episode, just talking about new Historic decks or just Historic decks in general. And then we, of course, are doing our fantasy draft for the Strixhaven Championship this weekend. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring home the win this week.
Hopefully I can. Yeah, this is the make it or break it time. So hopefully I pull out a win and tie it up. But we'll have to see, of course. But first, each week we both bring a beer. We drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
Okay, I brought a raspberry lemonade, so it's craft beer with lemonade. That's what it says.
Okay.
And it's made by Juicebox, so I guess this is their whole thing, is that they make craft beer with lemonade. And this one's the raspberry lemonade. I can't tell what kind of beer it is from the can. So, you know. But it's 5%, and the can is kind of cool. It's like a guy or a person riding in a juice box that has wheels, almost like a tank going into battle, and they have armor made of citrus, so their helmet is kind of chopped out of a lemon or an orange or something, and they have shoulder pads from that same peel.
Interesting.
So that's what got me.
Nice. Good. So real quick, you said that yours is from Juicebox Brewery?
Juicebox Beverage Co.
Oh, okay. Because I also brought a beer called Juicebox. But this is from Sons of Kent. It's their Juicebox Hazy IPA. It's 6.9%, and it has just a regular picture of a juice box and, you know, a couple different colors on it. But, all right.
Two very different takes on Juicebox beer.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess this is our Juicebox episode. That's good. I like it. Anyway, Magic news. Not a ton of news this week. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Well, not for us. I mean, there's no news for us, really.
Right.
It's really just Modern Horizon 2 spoilers, which has nothing to do with us. So, yay!
None of those cards will be on arenas.
Yeah, I will say that having spoilers for a set that I am not really going to play that much feels fine. I don't really care. I'm like, oh, cool. That's just, you know, I'm kind of eating it slowly, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't have to think about it that much.
Especially a set like this where all the cards are so unique that you're just like, oh, cool. But you don't have to worry if that's too good or not, or you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to like break a format I'm playing. So yeah, that's great.
Let's test it in Modern before they add it to Historic. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. Though I do want to say the Modern Horizons 2 stuff. I didn't write this down, but I do think this is interesting that they're also doing the injecting like cards that aren't in the format into the format, like they've been doing in Historic. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, like they're just including old cards.
Yeah, they're including old cards, or like there are a couple Commander cards that are in Modern Horizons 2 that will now be Modern legal, which feels like the first time they've done that. So it's just an interesting take to see. Oh, okay, they've been doing that with Historic, which is their made up format. Obviously, I guess they're all made up formats because it's just a made up game, but but it's just interesting to see that they can see that in Historic it's been like positive. So they're also doing it with Modern, which I think is also going to be positive.
I think Modern Horizons 1 did it with old cards, but maybe not Commander products.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing around Modern Horizons 1 was that every card in it was new to Modern.
Yes.
Whether that meant it was a reprint that was new to Modern or a completely new card.
Right.
There were some like old cards that got added to the format, but
I guess
they're doing it a bit more liberally this time.
Yeah. I couldn't really remember if they added old ones last time. Anyway, it's just been kind of fun to see that. But as far as like arena news goes, Jumpstart's coming back this weekend.
Woohoo!
June 4th to July 8th, just like it was before. So, hey, if you want any of those Jumpstart cards or you didn't get to play it last time, do it. I thought it was pretty fun. It's 2,000 gold or 400 gems.
Yeah, so, which isn't a lot.
So. It's not very much, yeah. So hopefully you get a relevant card. I don't know what's relevant from those.
Muxus?
Muxus? Is Muxus still relevant?
I can't remember the last time I played against goblins.
Yeah, but hey, maybe you want to try to get those.
Tiny Bones. Go get Tiny Bones.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Get Tiny Bones. But before you really, well, I guess you have to do that before this. But there's an F&M that is historic all access. It's coming back June 11th. So that's next week. Get your brews ready. Play any decks that you see from the championship this weekend because you don't have to pay for them. It's gonna be awesome.
Love it.
Love it. Really great to test out a deck before you spend all your wild cards on it.
Especially in historic, right? There are so many cards that are hard to get without using wild cards.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It's nice to see if you like playing with Thoughtseize before you actually, buy 4 Thoughtseize.
Yeah, although you should probably just buy 4 Thoughtseize. That's just...
If you ever want to play a black deck.
Yeah, if you like playing black, you're just going to want to have Thoughtseize no matter what. But yeah, before we get into some historic stuff, just like how was your week? How was your arena week?
Good. I've been playing a lot. Trying to climb back up the ranks. So last month or last season, I played a lot, but I played very little actual ladder. Like I was playing in the Star City Games events or the Insight Esports events, and I would kind of log on to the ladder just to test the deck or something. And even then, I didn't do much of that. So my rank has decayed. So past week, I just fought my way back up to platinum. So
nice. I mean, like, I just fought my way back into gold, so I don't know. And I was
and I play all the time.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. No, I ended up buying the all the historic Anthology 5 cards, so I was having fun with them this week, and that was just great. Playing some good stuff, some bad stuff, mostly bad stuff and dumb stuff. It was great. Had a lot of fun.
You decided to spring for it, eh?
I
we
did.
Were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to craft Kolagon's Command because that's the only card I want.
And I was like...
And you were like, I'm going to buy it.
I just want all of them. So, yeah, and I'm really happy that I have them. It feels good. I do not have buyer's remorse. So, not like the Death Shadows that I bought last time that are sitting there like, I kind of wish that these were wild cards instead of Death Shadows.
I mean, the commands are all good.
Yeah, exactly. So, happy to have those. Really grateful for that. But let's just kind of get into it. Historic. Yeah. First of all, it's the best.
Yeah. It's I haven't played Standard in a long time because Standard's kind of solved, I guess.
Yeah, it really feels like it.
For it. And it's more or less the same as last season, just a few decks kind of. The Prismari Tempo deck is a real thing now, and it was kind of a meme before Strixhaven, but that's really the only new addition. Other than that, you have your Sultai, your Adventures.
Some other stuff, whatever aggro deck. So it does feel like Standard's a little stale, so that's why I've been super excited for Historic, but also because Historic has had a ton of cards pumped into it recently.
Right, and, so they threw all of those super powerful Mystical Archive cards at us.
Man.
That produced only two totally broken decks somehow. So they banned that. And then they threw more cards at us. That,
exactly.
On the balance, probably weren't quite as powerful as the Mystical Archives, but there are some doozies,
It's been great. I'm happy I guess technically none of the Mystical Archive cards that weren't pre-banned got banned because they only banned Thassa's Oracle.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with what we've been playing? And then start talking about what we've been running into.
Sure. I mean, like this is mainly just going to be a conversation about Historic and decks that we see, and because it still feels like we kind of had a period of time where after the Mystical Archives, it kind of settled out a little bit because of Tainted Pact was so strong. Your deck had to be kind of strong against that, otherwise you couldn't really play.
Right.
But now that deck's kind of booted, it feels like it's wide open again, and we have these other cards that have only been around for about a week. So
yeah.
It still feels very Wild West-like.
Definitely.
Brew City.
And that'll start to obviously settle a bit after the weekend with the championship. Mm-hmm. But for now, I'm pretty confident that the championship will have a pretty wide variety of decks. So.
I agree, yeah. I think especially with all the... I think this might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, but you could tell that some of the people in the pros, the MPL, and the rivals may not have cared as much about submitting decks this time.
Right.
So some people were just
after they got fired.
Yeah, they're just like tweeting different things, and you're like, okay, maybe I won't pick these people for the tournament because they don't seem to care that much. But what have you been playing in Historic right now?
All right, so kind of like I said I would do, I immediately crafted Kolaghan's Command.
Mm-hmm.
So I have those, and I have no other cards from Historic Anthology 5 crafted yet. But I just started playing Kolaghan's Command decks. And the first, I put together a few, but the one I'm kind of on now, it's basically, I call it Rakdos Cards I Have, because that's what it is. It's like, I didn't want to spend any other wild cards other than Kolaghan's Command. So I'm just like going through all my red and black mid-range style cards. Well, 2 Chandras. Okay, let's put in both my Chandras. I have 3 Goldspan Dragons. I'll put in 3 Goldspan Dragons. But the idea was to just think, trying to maximize the like, what's it called when the Raise Dead effect. Kolaghan's Command. So Kolaghan's Command, the reason it's so good is that it's basically always a 2-for-1, because you can always just tack on, make them discard to whatever you're doing. But the strongest mode on it is to like get back a creature and kill something, or get back a creature and make them discard, or get back a creature and kill an artifact. That always feels like it's when Kolaghan's at its best, Kolaghan's Command. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted some really high impact creatures to get back, the types of cards that win the game on their own. So Goldspan Dragon came up on my list. Then I'm playing in the 3-drop slot. I'm playing Bone Crusher Giant as a kind of dominant creature to get back. And I don't even know the name of this card. It's like the fixed Goblin Rabblemaster from. I play this card all the time. Like, I've been playing this deck. Legion Warboss?
Warboss? Yeah.
So I just love this card because after you trade 1-for-1 a lot, you just like slam one of these and okay, you're dead in 3 turns. Like, find something. And sometimes you just curve out with it and they don't have an answer, right? So, and then the 2-drop that I wanted was I can't remember the name of this card either. Energy Bob, where it's Glintsleeve Siphoner. There we go.
Okay.
It makes energies and draws card.
Oh, Bob. Energy Bob. Okay, Bob.
Yeah.
Got it.
Energy Bob. Yeah. It's because I keep calling these cards by these fake names. And I can't remember their real ones. And then you just fill out the deck with some Thoughtseizes, Inquisitions, and stuff like that. And I've been doing really well with it. It's been a lot of fun because that's the exact type of deck that I like to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just trying to maximize Kolaghan's Command and then fill it out with mid-range style stuff.
Cool.
That's
cool. Pretty interesting because I have also been playing Kolaghan's Command, but I've been playing it in like Arcanist. Mm-hmm. So basically, I was playing it mainly as a discard spell, and then a great way to stop any of their graveyard hate artifacts, or their treasures if you're playing against control or something. So it was actually pretty fun because it's just a blast to like on their end step Kolaghan's Command. Then on your turn, you play your Arcanist, and then you give it haste with Fame in the graveyard, and then you Kolaghan's Command again when you attack them. Oh, and then they just get so mad.
Yeah.
So that has been what I've been doing, which is pretty fun. But the rest of that deck is similar to what it used to be. Though a lot of people are playing Sedgemoor Witch, which is pretty interesting. Because I guess
like young Pyromancer.
Yeah, extra because like there some other builds seem like heavier on the young Pyromancer, like token builds, which is like interesting. It feels different.
I don't know if I'm brave enough to give up Lurrus of the Dream Den.
I know. I don't know if it's the right choice, but it's definitely a choice. And I've been playing with it, and I feel like I don't like it at this moment. But if
you're always like, damn, if I had a Lurrus.
I know. Most of the time, it's like I draw the Sedgemoor Witch. I'm like, I already have 2 young Pyromancers. This card's not helping. I was like, this card would be a lot better if I play it, and then they decide to target it and lose 3 life. That'd be great. But
probably not going to do
probably not going to do that one. But actually, I have been having a blast with Dragonstorm, and it is great.
Love it.
I just net decked something because I knew I wanted to play Dragonstorm, and of course I had them because I bought the whole thing. So basically, the deck is very similar to any of the Magma Opus stuff, where the whole point is that you're trying to get it into your graveyard and then play Mizzix Mastery on it to kind of cheat it out. Mm-hmm. So you're playing Faithless Looting and Prismari Command and those things to get the Dragonstorm into your graveyard, Mizzix Mastery, which is great with Dragonstorm actually, because then you always have 2 copies of Dragonstorm every time you play it. Right. And if you do it on turn 5 to hide the combo in your hand, you get to Faithless Looting, discarding your Dragonstorm, and then get 3 dragons using the Mizzix Mastery. Uh-huh. And I'm usually going to grab just 3 Terror of the Peaks, because then you get 15 damage to...
Right.
And
I've seen people doing like a Terror of the Peaks plus double Blade Wing thing, and you just the Blade Wings keep alternating, bringing each other back for infinite damage.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I didn't have Blade Wing, but I like that one. I was playing whatever the one I got offline was using like Lathless, the Queen from M19, who like when other dragons come into play, you get it at 5/5, and so then that helps a bit. But most of the time, it just feels like playing a bunch of Terror of the Peaks just feels great, and it does.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost always going to be good enough, right?
It's not the best deck. Sometimes you can win game 1, and then I feel like I just keep running into Rest in Peace, and I can't get rid of that card, and they drop Rest in Peace.
Now you
so
gotta cast your Dragonstorm legit.
Well, then my game plan is just play dragons, find the dragons and play them, because like Mizzix Mastery is dead. I can't play that card anymore. And then it's just awful. And it gets really bad. And so the deck's really bad. It's not good, but it's really fun. But yeah, especially now that I'm like trying to rank up, go through the ranks, it's been really, I can play around with it. It's not as like, you're not running into as many like tier decks, which is great.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a lot of fun. It's only problem with the Blade Wing infinite damage plan is that then you have to craft 2 Blade Wings.
Is that a mythic?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I just know it was like, from Scourge or something. So maybe it's not because they didn't have mythics in Scourge.
Oh yeah, they did not have mythics back then. But yeah, anyway, if anyone who like has the cards for a Dragonstorm deck, just Google it. It's definitely worth playing if you think the card looks cool, because that's probably the only way you could possibly play that card.
I feel like Dragonstorm is the reason to buy this historic anthology, because it's hard to justify crafting it. But hey, if you buy the whole thing, it just comes with
That's exactly that was one of the big selling points was you can play Dragonstorm without feeling bad about it because the commands were there and they were worth the money that you spent.
You just tell yourself you're buying it for the commands.
Yes.
And then...
Even though secretly it's just for Dragonstorm and you're not playing any of the other commands. Though I do feel like...
And Stifle, I'm buying it for Stifle.
I forgot Stifle was even in it, even though we talked about it. I mean, I do believe one day I will be playing Into the North, and I'll probably be playing, not gonna lie, Court Homunculus, and...
yeah, that seems
Vault
like
Scourge.
a card you're gonna play at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a white 1-drop. I love those, so it'll be... It'll be good. And that's not sarcasm. I do like white 1-drops quite a bit. So, though I really do feel like most of the changes that I've seen in Historic over this last weekend have mainly been around the commands, which is, that's what we were expecting when we were talking originally about Historic Anthology. Mm-hmm. And it's delivered. Like, I have run into a Tarkus command already. A lot of the Gruul decks are pivoting to use that in its the arsenal, and even some of the mono red decks, like you were saying before in modern, they were playing or I guess it was standard at the time, but a Tarka red. So they were definitely
red was a thing in modern briefly.
It was okay, and that's what they're doing now. I don't know if this is because Crokies was playing a Tarka red for something, and so then maybe it got really popular because of that. But it still seems like it's pretty viable.
For whatever reason, for the first few days that I was playing Historic, I was against green-based collected company decks 100% of the time.
Really?
Like, it was either Gruul or Celestia company every time.
Huh.
And I don't know if that's just like I was in like because I was low rank, or
I mean, I
some
don't think
people
those
are just
decks
playing
are.
whatever decks they have.
I don't think they're
already,
bad,
you know?
really.
No, I think Celestia might be kind of bad, but
I feel like Celestia is always like surprising me. Like I feel like it's bad, but then it beats me, and I'm like,
I know I keep losing, but I'm like, oh, they just got lucky. None of the cards do anything.
I was like, oh, they're gonna play Dramoka's Command. That's fine. And then they put a +1/+1 counter on something and fight me. I'm like, wait. No, you can't do that. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this card's actually pretty good.
Unfair.
Yeah. So Dramoka's Command and Atarka's Command both feel like they're going to be played often.
It also like stops, stomps.
Yeah.
It helps counter the stomp and stuff. Deals with enchantments, so it's pretty good. I haven't actually seen the Atarka's Command much, but maybe the Gruul players I'm playing against just didn't draw it. I'm just playing against. I was playing against a lot of turn 1 Llanowar Elves for a while there.
Yeah, I've played against turn 1 Llanowar Elves, but I do think that. So I have seen a lot of Burning Tree Emissary because that card is awesome with the Atarka's Command because it just pays for it when you play it.
Yeah.
So that has been a thing I've been dealing with quite often. Though I do feel like, I don't know if this is how you feel. I know this is a deck that you've played in several tournaments, but I do think largely the meta feels like Jeskai control.
Yeah, so I was going to say at the end of my, Llanowar Elves gauntlet of just always being on the draw against turn 1 Llanowar Elves and never drawing any of my fatal pushes. Just every fucking game. It's like, well, if I had a fatal push, I'd kill that, but... they only let me run 4, so there's nothing more I could do. Once that kind of tapered off, then I started playing against a lot of the other stuff. So Jeskai Control is pretty popular. I've been running into the version that is not the version I played. It's the version with like Kahira and doesn't do the whole Gear Hulk plus Magma Opus thing. It's just kind of Jeskai Control. That seems, I think Scott Vargas played it in the league weekend, and that's where the list came from.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm running into that version most often.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that good. Like, I think it was kind of built to beat Tainted Pact.
Got it. Yeah, and so it just doesn't really work in this meta because that's what that does make sense.
Yeah,
that's
I think
exactly
just copy-pasting it into a general ladder isn't the best idea because I think Luis built it to beat Tainted Pact.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened because he spoke on that. But I mean, I have seen a bunch of the like Torrential Gear Hulk one with the Magma Opuses and all the Dovin's Vetoes, which are just brutal, and just it's actually I have a great story about this. So I was playing against this deck, and I was playing Arcanist. So my whole game plan is all right. To beat Control, you have to make them discard their entire hand. That's all I could do. So I'm playing all my discard spells and doing everything, but they're really great at wiping the board and making sure that I'm off balance. And at a certain point, I had gotten rid of all of their Narsets that they had played a couple, and I was able to get rid of all of them because they had a memory in the graveyard. So I was pretty worried about them, pulling that shenanigans on me. And anyway, they ended up just... I was in enough of a board presence where they're like, well, I have to just crack this off to draw a full hand so that I can, keep up. And I was like, well, I had gone through and was able to get to a point where I was like, okay, the cards in my hand are really great. I like this. And they're like, crack the memory. We're going to dump our hands and our graveyards and draw some new ones. I was like, okay, well, I guess this isn't so bad. And then I draw my new hand and I have 4 Thoughtseizes and a Kozilek's Inquisition. I'm like, okay, well, my next turn is just Thoughtseize, and I just rip every good card from their hand is gone. And I was like, I don't even remember if I won that game or what, but that was the best. I loved just picking out every card that I was like, nope, you can't have this one, you can't have that one. Oh, it was...
As someone who's played a lot of that Jeskai deck, I have had to panic memory so many times.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens. And I never draw a better hand than my opponent. It has never once happened. Like, my opponent draws the fucking nuts, and my hand is like 5 lands and, a Mizzix Mastery or something, but my graveyard is now gone because of the memory. Well, fuck me.
It was so great. It was, well, also because all my spells cost like 1 or 2 basically, so I was like, oh, I can dump my whole hand out and just, there's no way I'm getting rid of every relevant card. Right. I think I did actually end up losing that game, but it was just the best feeling.
Yeah, it's a little better to just blind memory against Arcanist because it just gets rid of their graveyard.
Yeah.
So it basically makes them rebuild as well as, you look at a fresh 7. But yeah, that's pretty funny.
It was fun. It was very fun. I was like, oh, this is actually much better. Look at all these thought seizes that I had already used. Now they're back in my hand. Love it.
Going for the world record of number of times you've thought seized your opponent in a single game.
I end up losing the game because I thought seized so many times that I killed myself.
Yeah, then they just lightning helix you.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Worth it. It's totally worth it.
Probably should have taken that lightning helix at some point.
Yeah, but or they just top deck the lightning helix. In either situation. But no, I will say we were definitely right that Relic of Progenitus is 100% all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so good if you're not interested in graveyard shenanigans yourself, because the only downside is it exiles both graveyards.
Yeah, but it also just taps to get rid of whatever card they're targeting. So you can just sit there and take the relevant stuff.
Yeah, if you get it down early, you can start to kind of every card that goes to their yard, you can exile it immediately.
Yeah, or just you're gonna. It happened a lot when I was playing the Dragonstorm deck, where I'm like, oh, you just tap that and then it's gone now, and then that sucks. I can't. Yeah. Oh, well, all right, my deck's concede.
Yeah, whoops. Cannot beat a turn 1 relic as a turn 2.
I guess I should have played my Prismari Command first and blown that up. My bad.
Yeah. I don't know why I had made this stupid treasure token.
That was dumb.
Yeah, the funny thing about my deck is that I think I have 2 Croxa in there, just as a thing. And I have 3 Kolaghan's commands, but nothing else I have interacts with the graveyard at all. That's just not what I'm doing. But people see red-black, and they just pile graveyard hate into their deck post-board.
Ooh, that's smart.
So they're just like, turn 1, Grafdigger's Cage, turn 2, like, Rest in Peace. I'm like, well, neither of those cards do anything against me, so Legion War Boss, attack you.
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome.
Goldspan Dragon, smack your face. They're, like, sitting there with... They basically mulled to 5 because they kept this stupid hand.
Yeah.
Useless cards.
That they thought were going to be, like, the game, the entire... the match was going to be determined.
And they'll often like mulligan to get them, and I'm just like, oh, you are shooting yourself in the foot, my friend. I thought seize them, don't even take it.
Yeah, it's like you can have that trash. That's awesome. That's a really great idea. I really like that. Like, take a deck that looks like something else, but it's secret, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't even do it on purpose. I just play red-black.
Yeah.
Didn't want it to be that graveyard centric because graveyard hate in Historic is so good.
So good.
And people just sided in. And it's funny because I'll just play Kolaghan's Command. They'll have a Grafdigger's Cage in play, and I won't even kill it. So, like, that's okay.
Whatever.
I'll just deal 2 damage to you. It's better. That accomplishes more for me than killing the card you sideboarded in, is to deal 2 damage to your face.
Oh, that must feel like terrible on their end, where they're like, all right, I put this in my sideboard for the specific reason. I'm going to play it. It's going to be great. And we're going to be fighting over. I have extras in my hand so that they're going to blow it up. I'm going to play another one and do that. And then they don't blow it up. And you're like, all right, well, the 2 in my hand now are really useless. Because I thought this whole game was going to be this like cat and mouse thing. But nope.
I'm just dying to a Bone Crusher Giant.
Whoops.
Yeah. So that's always fun. But I have kind of enough graveyard stuff that I have to be careful what graveyard hate I play.
Gotcha.
Like, I thought about just jamming 4 Leyline of the Voids in my sideboard, and I played a few games with that, but I don't think there's enough decks that are gravy. Like, it just beats Rakdos Arcanist. But that's not popular enough, and it doesn't just beat Is It Phoenix, which is kind of the other deck that uses its graveyard. Like, sure, you get rid of their phoenixes, but then they beat you with their other flyers, or they just play it as a 3/2 flying haste. So I ended up I'm just playing Clink to Dust. So that I guess I have more. I have those are graveyard cards because they have escape, but like I'm not playing those against people who are bringing in their own graveyard hate. You know. Like,
yeah, you're not using them against rogues or something to make your graveyard smaller or anything like that.
I would if I was playing against rogues.
Yeah,
but rogues isn't bringing in Relic of Progenitus.
Exactly. That would be very bad.
It goes against their game plan a little
bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. But no, I mean, like, it is interesting talking about Historic now because the decks do feel like there's just so much room to make different things. But no, I feel like I've just seen a ton of different kinds of decks recently. I think everything has just kind of been inspiring people to play different stuff. I really love having memory lapse with like Historic Rogues because Historic Rogues is so interesting that, there are only certain slots that are powered up. But like a memory lapse and then being able to mill the top of their library is just like a hard counter that's cheaper to play. This is awesome.
It's almost like better than Counterspell in that deck. Like even if it costs blue, because you get to choose whether you waste their next turn by having them draw that again, or you put it on top and then mill it.
Yeah.
If you don't want them to draw it again. So it's almost like Counterspell with upside.
Yeah, it's super cool. I think that
gives them 8 copies of Counterspell with upside with Drown in the Water.
Yeah, exactly. I think Memory Lapse is just like a super cool card.
Yeah. People have been hating on it a bit, complaining that it's too good. I don't really feel that. I mean, everyone seems to be complaining about Jeskai Control, so I've had no issues with Jeskai Control. I'm like, guys, just put like 7 Thoughtseizes in your deck. What's your problem?
I also don't love Jeskai Control, but it's mainly just because it's a control deck, not because I think I think it's really strong. And but I always play decks that don't love playing against control decks, and it's just not my favorite matchup. But I don't think it's like busted or anything. It's not like it shouldn't be there. I think it's great to have a good control
just
deck.
Slapping Chandra Torch of Defiance on the battlefield in game 1, and they're like, fuck. Like, there's pretty much nothing in my deck that deals with that. I have to like Teferi bounce it, Teferi tuck it, or double Helix it or something.
Yeah, man.
The other really interesting deck that I've seen popping around, I don't know if you've seen this one. I haven't played against it or with it, but I've seen it kind of on the web. In the Twitterverse. It's a red-white tokens deck. So it just plays all the best ways to make tokens in red and white. And then it plays 4 Transmogrify. And the Transmogrify hits Elesh Norn.
Oh.
So it kills you real fast because Elesh Norn gives +2/+2 to your team.
And they just have a ton of tokens?
Yeah. So it seems pretty cool. I was looking at the deck list, like, this is my kind of deck. I love these stupid red-white token Transmogrify decks, and Elesh Norn makes perfect sense at the top.
Yeah, that sounds great. Because you were playing a similar deck that had the Archon that does a similar thing.
Similar thing because it makes all of your 1/1s 3/3s.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives them all +2/+2. But this, instead of making your opponent's things 3/3s, this gives your opponent's stuff -2/-2.
Yeah. So it's like a 4 power swing. That's awesome. Elesh Norn. I'm just happy that the Praetors are here. I haven't really seen them on the field yet. I haven't had anyone try to play them against me. But I do like all the. Like, I've seen a couple like Grizzly Salvage decks. As far as like, I haven't seen them I haven't played against them in the wild. Yes, I haven't seen them in the wild. But as far as like looking online and looking at lists and stuff, there have been a couple that were some interesting like 4-color Grizzly Salvage decks that were like dumping stuff, all the Praetors into their yard and bringing them back with burial rites and stuff. It seems just fun.
Grizzly Salvage is a card I love and would love to play with and build around. It's just that I feel like Historic is so hostile to graveyard-based shenanigans.
Yeah.
That, like, there's just too much powerful stuff that if you're doing any sort of graveyard stuff that doesn't win the game, right away. Like your graveyard stuff has to be so powerful to make up for the fact that the graveyard hate is rampant and very strong. You know, so you gotta, like, Arcanist even suffers a bit from it. Arcanist would normally be an amazing deck, but because there's just so much hate, it kind of relegated to like tier 1.5 or tier 2.
Yeah. That's why I think that a lot of these Arcanist decks are leaning heavier on the token generation, because they can't completely rely on some of their graveyard stuff. And they have to do a little bit more like just value things. And then hopefully at some point they might be able to play a couple things with their Arcanist. But most of the time you have to give it haste somehow. Because if you just play it on turn 2, they're going to get rid of it somehow, or your graveyard's going to be gone.
It's going to eat a Lightning Helix for sure.
Yeah, definitely Lightning Helix. That's a... Oh, man. That's...
I love that card.
Playing the... Yeah. There's a Boros deck that's out there that, like, you know, you feel like you're safe, but you're not, because they Lightning Helix you and then, like, double stomp, and you're like, okay, well, I didn't think I was going to die out of nowhere, but I guess I did. Whoops.
That's one of the cool things about the Rakdos deck I'm playing, is that sometimes you just stomp their face, Kolaghan's Command, get back Bone Crusher Giant, deal 2 damage to their face, stomp their face, and it's just like, oh, you just kind of died out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Chandra plus, you took 2.
You took 2 from that, you do this. That's fun. That's great.
Yeah, a single Bone Crusher Giant ends up doing like 10 damage with Kolaghan's Command. It got in once, or it triggered when they targeted it.
That's great. That's really fun. I think I need to look at that list that you've been talking about.
I'll send it to you. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
please
not
do.
Perfect because it's kind of just cards I have. Like I said, I didn't want to. It should probably have more Chandras than it does, for example.
Yeah, I think I also only have 2 Chandras, so then it'll work pretty well. I have been really happy though that Jund Sacrifice seems to just not really be on the ladder anywhere. It's just not.
Yeah, just wait till this weekend.
Oh gosh, I know.
That's the deck that never dies.
It's never good. Well, we'll see. I mean, there might be some interesting stuff that they're going to add to these Jund lists. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to sneak in some.
You think you've seen the end of Cat Oven combo?
Oh no. But it's nice for the moment that it feels like it's just
right. It's nice to not.
I can breathe a little bit.
Reprieve of not having to play against it.
Exactly.
And I played against Auras actually earlier today, and I was like, oh, this is nice. I haven't played against this in so long.
Fun.
Whereas before, I'd be like, fucking Auras
again. Yeah, that's the funny thing about decks. Like sometimes you just really hate a deck, or you think a card needs to be banned, or whatever. But it's really just it's been overplayed, quote unquote. I guess it's similar to like a song on the radio. Sorry, that is just around. Nobody listens to the radio anymore.
No, what is that?
It's I guess,
satellite radio.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really pertain to that anymore. It might just be a song that you hear. Anyway, doesn't matter. But
in a playlist,
it's just something that you hear constantly, or you play constantly, or see all the time, or that just wears on you. And it's not necessarily that you hate the thing. You're just exhausted from having to deal with it over and over and over again. And so I'm happy to have this break from playing against Jund to eventually playing against it again and be like, okay, let's see how this has changed. Maybe this deck's a little bit different than it used to be and all that stuff. It'll be kind of fun to get back into that.
It's going to be Jund plus Kolaghan's Command.
Basically, yep.
I do feel like it's part of it, though, that while they've made so much graveyard hate and stuff, they've also made a lot of artifact, like incidental artifact hate. Like there's so many commands that you're playing anyways that kill artifacts. Now they've put Ancient Grudge into the format. So relying on Witch's Oven the way they used to, surviving in game 1 at least, is no longer a guarantee for that deck.
Absolutely.
Your opponent has 6 artifact, 6
main
shatters
deck.
in their deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, I can do this. That's probably why Tempered Steel just has no chance of being a deck.
Man, Tempered Steel is really rough when you put Kolaghan's Command into the format, because it's like, kill that and that. It's destroy an artifact and deal 2 damage.
Yeah.
And now there's also Prismari Command that does that same thing.
Exactly.
It's going to like kill the Court Homunculus and destroy an artifact.
Or put the 2 damage on it and then get rid of the Anthem and then it kills.
Destroy whatever's pumping it and then it dies. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so that's a bummer.
Because I remember playing Kolaghan's Command against Affinity in Modern, and that would just always happen. Just be like, kill all your stuff, even though they're huge. Like
done. Yeah. I really think that like we're gonna get. I was looking at a list that was like this Grixis Like, like Grixis deck that was around for a long time, and they would play just like Bolas Tribal kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is like a similar thing, but they're basically just wanting to play Kolaghan's Command in this like Grixis shell, but it's basically kind of like a Grixis control. But the creatures that they're playing in the deck are just Bolas, the creature that flips into the Planeswalker, and then Valky as well. So they kind of come down as like early threats, but then when they die, they can bring them back and then play them later as Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Which just seems awesome. And just lots of hand destruction.
Strong. Yeah. I've tried something similar to that, but I found that, I don't know, the blue just wasn't worth it. Like, I'd rather... It's nice to Bolas and then make them discard a card, and then you have a 4/4, and then hopefully you get that later. But it's also nice to just gold span them and attack them right away and get more mana back.
I guess that's true.
But I do love the Nicol Bolas, the Ravager, as a card, and I also love Valky. So that was the first place my mind went. And then I've slowly been cutting Valkyries from this deck because, I don't know, they're just not quite good at it. It never happens that I pick it up and play it as Tybalt.
Yeah.
That's the dream, but it never happens.
I just think it just feels great that like, oh, I have this on turn 2. I can play it as a creature. If it dies or whatever, I know I have a card in my deck that can bring it back and I could use it later if I needed to. Feels nice. Not that it, that feels like the dream to me, where you're like, oh, remember this card that's been bugging you this whole game? Or has bugged you a couple times? Now I get to play it in the ultimate version. Yay. But
yeah, no, it's just like it wasn't happening.
It could be a dream. It could be a dream.
That like I get to Tybalt early and then late game pick it up and now it's a Valky because I have a Chandra to make mana.
Yeah, or vice versa, but yeah.
Yes, sorry, play Valky and now it's a Tybalt. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if it's good. It just seems fun. That's mainly... Now that Pro Magic is dead, that's my main focus.
Totally.
But that's a great segue that now that Pro Magic is done, I think we should go on a beer break.
Start talking about Pro
Magic. And then we'll talk about some Pro Magic.
I did have one comment I wanted to make about the red-white tokens.
Yes, please.
That gets Elish Norn out. So I was looking at this deck, and the version I saw has literally no way to kill an opposing Elish Norn. So if this deck was in a mirror match against itself, they would both get out Elish Norn, and then every other card in both of their decks would do nothing because they would create tokens that instantly die. And so there would be no way to get the upper hand.
But would they instantly die? Because wouldn't they just be like just a token? Wouldn't they just be like regular?
Oh wait, maybe.
Because they get +2/+2 and -2/-2. Would it matter who was on the battlefield first?
You're right.
Is
that maybe it balances out.
Or does it just mean all your cards just like do what they normally do, and you're like, well, I guess the board's
I was just imagining both players just have a 3/5 Elish Norn, and there's nothing anyone could do.
They could do anything else.
I guess you're right. You could like outdraw them with tokens.
But that's basically all you could do is just like, I have more tokens than you, and I have to be able to.
I guess just imagine this being the worst mirror match.
It just sounds awful.
Because you can't like what's it called? You can't transmogrify into a second one because it's legendary.
Yeah.
Some decks you can like get ahead.
You could transmogrify theirs until they run out of Elish Norns.
There you go.
That's what you'd have to do.
But most of them run like 3 or 4. So.
All right. Well, that probably makes sense too. Well, maybe I don't know. But anyway, I think let's go on a beer break and then get into the championship.
Let's do it.
All right, I got this juice box.
Yeah, my second juice box of the night.
Yeah, loving me these juice boxes. Yeah, so we figured out this is actually the juice box Jeff brought as a lager.
Right.
Oh, wow, I can really smell that. Interesting.
Oh, I know. You're in for a wild ride.
Okay. All right. I see you. Okay. I don't want to spoil it. Ooh, I don't want to spoil anything yet, but interesting. Strixhaven Championship. Right now, we're going to talk about it.
Now, does this one actually have Strixhaven cards in it, or?
Yeah, this one does. Yeah, they did.
Okay, good.
Actually, no, they decided to ban all the Strixhaven cards because they weren't working correctly in the client. Yeah. But just for
no
this
mystical archive cards.
No mystical archive cards. All right,
because the fancy frame lags the client too much.
Obviously, this is a joke about the last Strixhaven and the last two Strixhaven League weekends, where the first one didn't have any Strixhaven cards, and the second one, certain cards from other sets couldn't be played. So, anyway, this is the Strixhaven Championship. It is this weekend, June 4th to the 6th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you want to keep track of what's happening with the standings, you got to roll the dice with Magic Esports on Twitter, because our good friend Ball Lightning has stepped away.
Now, just a little tip: if you're looking at the Magic Esports Twitter update and you're thinking, "Didn't I just see this person win? Why does it say he lost? Oh no! Like, am I missing something?" No, they made a mistake.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
They probably either made a mistake or those are old standings from 2 rounds ago.
Because I've had that experience several times, and there's even a time when Ray Sato responded, "Don't I have 20 points?" Because they had about 19 points.
Yeah, and then Ball Lightning was like, "Yeah, you do." Anyway, I don't want to be too down on the Magic Esports. That person is like, so. This is a mini tangent, but like Wizards has, the kind of how they run things is obviously there are a bunch of different groups of different people that are in charge of different things. And the esports Twitter account is part of, I think, the group that does the esports kind of does that stuff. But it seems like the person that does the Twitter is just like some intern. That's what it feels like. As the tournaments are also run by interns, I guess. Anyway. Sorry, I don't want to attack it, but there are some random things that happen, and it's kind of frustrating.
Just having some
fun. But it does seem like the times when they're like, hey, we have to ban this thing, or hey, this is what this tournament's called. We know that none of the cards are in this or whatever. The people that name these things are not the same as the people putting on the tournaments. The people that are in charge of fixing the problems or the bugs in the system are not the same as the people putting on the tournament. So that's why the people putting on the tournament have to be like, well, we made the executive decision to ban or suspend these cards because we don't have the power to change it. And we asked the people that have the power to change it to do it, and they won't because they have other things they're doing. So we have to make a solution happen, and this is what we decided. It kind of sucks for it.
They were unable to give us a timeline on
exactly.
When they fix.
So we have to do what's probably best for us, kind of, or just like. So it is their stuff, obviously. So I don't want to shit on them too hard because obviously it's hard, but just be aware that Magic Esports is not always the most reliable as far as standings go. But anyway, let's talk about Pro Magic.
It's okay to shit on it because it's on its way out there.
It is. I know. I feel a little bit bad, but Anyway, so the championship is similar to the other championships we had in the past. It is a split standard and historic format. There are 15 rounds, 7 on day 1 and 8 on day 2. They start with historic and then go to standard on both days. And then the top 8 for this one is going to be historic.
So 15 rounds, I guess 8 are standard and 7 are historic?
Correct.
And then the top 8 is historic?
Yeah.
Because usually whatever the top 8 is, there's one less round of that.
Exactly. And that's mainly why we talked a lot about historic, because we're going to be seeing some, the final rounds of this tournament on Sunday are going to be in historic. So
I love that the top 8 is historic.
Oh, it's so much better than last time was standard, which was like fine, but historic just seems more exciting as a format altogether. So, like it.
I felt like it. Yeah. What made the last one was that Arne was playing rogues so well, so it's like, oh, I kind of want to see him keep playing rogues. So that was okay, but in terms of like cool decks, I really want. Yeah. I'm glad it's historic.
Yeah, especially because like if the last one was just like a Soul Tomato mirror match, that would have been so boring.
I know.
Like the what was that, the first tournament we ever talked about on the show was like the grand finals from 2020.
Whatever it was called, I think it is the Magic Championship.
It was like, I think it was the grand finals something.
Yeah.
And it was just like Omnath versus Omnath, and it was just like,
it was Omnath Adventures versus Omnath Adventures.
They like tested together. It was just like, okay, you guys
and
are
to get there they beat Omnath Ramp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at least that last one, we had some rogues, which was great. And
then you had like Autumn playing Gruul Aggro or something.
Yeah.
that was the top 8.
That's what that was. So it'll be really awesome to see which decks get to the top 8 of this format for historic. Excited for that. As always, we do fantasy sports here. And boy, is this a big one. It could be the last time we ever do fantasy sports on the podcast. So
it will be if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, so if you can't tell, we're playing best of 7, I guess? No, that's not right. We're at 7 already.
It's going to end up being best of 9, I think.
Best of 9. I have 3 points, and Jeff has 4. So
yes.
Now, if I lose this one, it's all over. It's all over. So I'm kind of against a wall here.
Bringing my A game.
Yes, same. I am definitely not tapped out of this.
Yeah, I totally prepared.
I'm definitely prepared for this. And Jeff, would you like to explain the winner, what the winner gets?
Okay, the winner gets a weird 2-4. So for those outside the country of Canada, 2-4 is 24-pack of beer. And by a weird 24-pack of beer, we mean hand curated. So the loser will select 24 beers to put into a box that will be gifted to the winner.
Yes. And so hopefully I will be receiving that from you in July when the last Strixhaven League weekend is finished.
Wouldn't count on it.
So
I think that'll happen if you pick Rakdos for every category.
But this time it could be. You've been selling me on this Rakdos deck. It could be there. There could be something.
It's a great deck.
Yeah, it's a really good deck. So because we do fantasy sports, our teams are made up of 3 MPL players, 4 rivals players, and then we also pick the highest meta percentage and top performing decks for each format. Yeah, that's basically it. Oh, and for the championships, it's a little special. So you get 1 point for each win your MPL and rivals players get, and then you get an extra point if they go into the top 8, and then an extra point if they win the whole thing.
Yeah, it just didn't seem right that you could top 8, lose in the quarterfinals, and get the same number of points as someone who didn't top 8.
Exactly, yeah. Also, side note, if you're hearing any drilling, that's whoever's upstairs right now, because they decided, you know what? Tuesday night, it's a great time to just be drilling into the wall. So,
should I do it on my end too, so that it's balanced?
I think so.
Power drills that I can grab.
That'd be great. Just do a or whatever.
Just every once in a while.
That's a pretty good drill noise, I think. Anyway, so that
is. I was expecting.
Hey, well, thanks. Hey, I don't know if that's facetious or what, but anyway, to start us off. Wait, real quick before we get into this. It is important to note. So, in the last Strixhaven League weekends, players have advanced either to Worlds and they're like moving on, I guess, or they were relegated to different places. Blah 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 blah. Every one of these players is playing in this tournament, whether they've already been relegated. So does that mean Ben Stark? That means Ali Warfield. We're talking about Brian Braun-Duin, Autumn Burchett. All of them are playing, even though they've been relegated, and that means Andre Strosky and Eli Cassis, PVDDR, and Stanislav Sivka are also playing in the tournament. So they are viable choices. However, I alluded to earlier, are they good choices?
Right.
I don't know.
They might not be taking it that seriously.
If you're already qualified for Worlds, do you really care about this one? You're like, maybe I'll take a little bit of a break. I don't need to fight really hard. The first place winner gets $15,000, which is, good chunk of change, but not the same as winning Worlds, So maybe they're...
And it's just so unlikely that you'll get first place.
Exactly.
No matter how much you prepare and how good you are.
So, once again, mind games. I don't know. Anyway... to start us off, I have the...
Ceremonial Toonie.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Would you like to call it in the air to see who gets to pick first or whatever?
I, of course, will call it in the air.
Okay, and go.
Tails never fails.
Oh, my God. Tails again. Holy crap.
See? It never fails.
I think I started flipping it, and that was a bad idea. I should just let it fall.
Yeah, no, you see, that's an amateur move.
I think the last 2 times we've done this, I flipped it, and it was tails. That's...
Yeah.
Crap. Okay.
That's why. It would have been heads if you didn't, so.
Yeah. Anyway, so This time around, we don't have specific pods playing against other pods. There's none of that stuff I can screw up. So would you like to pick the first MPL player, or would you like to defer and pick the first Rivals player?
Okay. After thinking long and hard about this,
okay,
we even had to pause it, take a whole break so that I could decide whether I'm going to defer the pick or not. I will be picking first.
Okay.
And with my first pick, I'm going to pick somebody that I believe would play their heart out no matter what the situation around pro play was. And whether they had qualified already or not, I think this is a person that would just give it their all because they love competing, and they love competing in Magic. So I'm actually going to choose Reed Duke.
Okay.
First pick.
All right. I do like that pick. I think that's good. Reed always shows up for tournaments. I'm going to go with someone who
he's in 5th place, by the way.
Yes, Reed's in 5th place.
That's counting, so he's like 3rd, I guess, because we're counting Andre and PB.
All right, so the player that I am going with has not qualified for Worlds yet. However, they were on a huge hot streak, and I really think that they are fighting to get that one of those spots. And so that's why I like to see the fire in them, because they were waning a little bit in some earlier weeks, but recently they've revved it up, and I think they're going to bring just as much work into this championship that they did the last weekend. So that is why I'm picking Seth Manfield, who's in 3rd place / 1st place, I guess.
Good pick. You know what? With my second pick, I'm going to pick someone who's also been kind of heating it up lately. Past couple of league weekends, they've just done very, very well. Didn't do so well necessarily. Actually, they also did well in the Call Time Championship. What am I talking about? So, yeah, this guy's just been on an absolute tear. Had a kind of mediocre start to the season, but has skyrocketed into 6th place now, right behind Reed Duke. I'm going to select Javier Dominguez.
Yep. Makes sense. I get it. I like it. So I'm going to pick someone I have never picked before, but has been definitely picked by you. And I think that because of the state that we are in with the formats right now, they could be a really interesting person to look out for. So that's why I'm going to pick Ken Yukihiro, who is in 10th place / I guess
always
8th
a good
place.
pick.
Because Ken, what are you going to bring to Historic? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out.
All right. This feels weird to say, but I think I'm going to take a risky pick here and hope it pays off.
Ooh.
It feels weird. That's what I mean. It feels weird to call it a risky pick, but I just don't know this person's state of mind. But I'm going to pick Andre.
Okay.
You know?
I was thinking about that, but I do know what you mean, where Andre's kind of
he's just
fallen
such an
a little
amazing
bit.
player.
Yeah.
And I know he's going to get a good deck list because he's going to get it from the check house. And so, even if he's not that focused on the tournament, someone of his skill with one of the best decks in the room always has a chance to take down the event.
Yeah. True. That makes sense. So, you know what? I could jump back up at the top, but I just don't think I'm interested in anyone who's already qualified, I think. I don't know if that's 100%
That's
true.
what I mean by saying it's a risk, right? Like, who knows if Andre's even prepared? He might just be like, hey, Yvonne Flock, what deck do I play?
Yeah. So I think with this pick, maybe I should just go out and just pick someone I haven't picked before, or I should just pick someone I know who's really good. I'll probably just pick... well, obviously they're all really good. They're
there are no bad players.
We say this every time, and it feels like sometimes that's not true, but it's definitely, they're all really fantastic, and it's going to be sad not being able to do this all the time. But
it's a different story for a league weekend because they're playing against each other, and then there are better players or players who are having a better season.
Exactly.
When they're mostly going to be playing against challengers,
that's very true.
They're all just very good.
That's true. I think that I am just going to go with William Huey Jensen.
Good pick.
9th place / 7th place. So the reason we're saying that is because technically they're 9th place, but if you look at the standings as recorded for, league weekends, he would be considered 7th, I guess.
Right, because Andre and PV are not taken into account because they've already qualified for World Championships.
Exactly. All right. Going on to the Rivals League. I get to pick first in the Rivals League.
You sure do.
I sure do. So, man, this first pick's really hard. I'm not really interested in the top 2 again because they've already qualified, and I just don't. With the Rivals, I think it's a little bit closer because they still have a little bit to prove. They know that they're in the MPL next year, but I think that as many wins as they can get, they're just looking for them. But this is a player I think is really worth just going out and snagging right away. And that's why I'm glad I get to go first, because this is a person who has wanted to win one of these forever. And it's really now or never. So we're going to go with Grzegorz Kowalski.
Love it.
Definitely just jumping right up.
Incredible in the last one.
Yes, did so well.
Finals.
Went to the finals, lost to Arne Huschenbett. But I think that, once again, the fire is there. So that's why I'm looking for Grzegorz. Let's go. However, I can never remember how to spell your name. I'm so sorry.
There's a Z in there, and I forget where to put it.
It's like, it doesn't matter. You can look up the spelling if you're at home and wonder, but...
It's after the R, right? So every R is followed by a Z. That's what I remember.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's a great pick. I was actually going to pick Grzegorz.
Yes.
So
I kind of knew that. That's why I was also a little bit on top of it, making sure I got it first.
I think I'll just make a pick just again based on raw skill level here, and I'll start with Luis Scott Vargas.
Yeah, that was the other one.
You can never count Luis out,
You can't. You really can't. I think once again, as always, the Rivals can be so hard.
I know there's so much. There's so much talent in both leagues, but with the Rivals, because there's so many more.
There's just twice as many, so it's really difficult to be like, I can't keep as many tabs on everybody. It's hard. It's hard because I'm looking at these players, and some of them have burned me in the past a little bit. So I don't, I look at somebody, I'm like, you're such a good player, but I'm really worried because I lost because you did badly in that one weekend that I picked you,
Totally.
And this one's really make it or break it. So I gotta tighten it up a little bit. You know what? No, not that. Oh boy. All right, let's go. Just so you can't have the pleasure of doing this, I'm gonna pick Luis Salvato.
Man, I love Team LSV.
I know you do, and you've beaten me with that team a couple times. So I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna break up the combo.
All right.
Did I snake you a little bit? Grab that one.
I was planning on picking him at some point. I don't know if I was gonna take him next, but he always just plays decks that I think are cool too. So he's the type of guy you want to root for.
Yeah. I think this round I'm just picking whoever you would pick, and then hopefully that means I win.
Yeah, that's why my opponent has suddenly seemed such a good drafter.
What? Did someone else jump on my colors while I wasn't looking? What's going on?
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so for the next one, I'm going to pick a player who is an absolute legend for their ability to pilot blue-black tempo aggro control decks. So they've made a name for themselves with fairies, and I'm really hoping that they just go double rogues here and just destroy the competition with their mastery of rogues. I'm going to pick Yuta Takahashi.
That was the other one I was looking at. I was looking at Yuta, and then I jumped down to Luis.
Double rogues. Double rogues.
That's what I wanted last time, but no one brought rogues last time. But obviously, this is different because it's a championship. But as you remember, Zach's win championships. So here we go.
Yuta was actually the one who won that first tournament with historic rogues that like put it on the map once the Mystical Archives got released.
Well, there you go. There you go.
When you let this guy play with Brainstorm, you know, he starts to win. So.
Oh, gosh. That card, man. Learning how to play with Brainstorm is just a new thing for me.
Oh, yeah. Quick tip. Don't just do the end step Brainstorm for no reason. Like, I see so many players doing that against me on the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you have a specific reason to be doing this, don't do this. Like, your Brainstorm will be much better off if you have a way to shuffle or like a reason to be brainstorming. Don't treat it like an opt where you just shoot it off at the end of your opponent's turn for no real reason to cycle. You know,
it is interesting. I saw something on Twitter that was like Brainstorm is secretly a sorcery or something.
Yeah,
it was like you have to think of it like that because don't just play it whenever you can.
Well, a great play is to like just leave the mana up and try to counter a Thoughtseize with it, where you just like put all your good cards back. That's a fine reason. Like shock and just let it go. And sometimes I won't Thoughtseize people if they do that, but then they just brainstorm on my end step. I'm like, wow, I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
Like, or some people will play an island. I've noticed somebody doing this too. They play an island. I don't Thoughtseize them. Then they play a Fabled Passage and pass. It's like, now I'm Thoughtseizing you. Because in order to play around Thoughtseize, you have to put your good cards on top of your deck. Mm-hmm. And then if you crack that Fabled Passage, you're going to shuffle those away.
Yeah.
So it's like both of those are things. You want to brainstorm your good cards away to counter a Thoughtseize. And you want to play Brainstorm with Fabled Passage. But you don't want to do both because they do opposite things.
Yeah. And so then
Fabled
you're forcing
Passage
them.
shuffles away your bad cards. Yeah.
So you're forcing them not to have 2 lands on turn 3. Or sorry, to not have 3 lands on turn 3.
Either stunt their development by not hitting their third untapped land on turn 3, or they have to shuffle away, or they just let me Thoughtseize their best stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. I like it. All right. Jumping back. What pick am I on? Pick number 3. All right. So with this one, I think this is a player that did really well in the last championship, but I remember the decks that they were playing were very aggressive, and I really liked that about them. And I think that some of those decks might be slept on a little bit. So we're going to go straight to Riku Kumagai.
Nice. I was looking at Riku.
Yeah.
He does play aggressive decks. I might even, if I had to guess what he's on in Historic, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was mono black aggro.
Yeah, which I also think is super fun.
His kind of deck.
Yeah. So I like that, and yep, pass it over to you.
I like that pick. This is around the place where I'm like considering, should I just take Ely, or
I was around that before, but I don't know. He didn't play last weekend, right?
Right. My issue with the top 2 guys is they're both on teams with people I've already picked. So if that team selected poor decks, that's going to compound if I choose them. But then again, they're both such great players. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like, the check house is feels strong, and Ely as well. I don't know if Ely is, the players, Andre and Ely have been out they didn't play the last league weekend. So does that mean that they already mentally checked out until Worlds? Because they know that there's this and then they're skipping the next one and the gauntlets and everything? Or, if I was them, I'd probably just be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take a bit of a hedge between the two. So I'm going to pick a player who's I know is very good and has been great all season, but might not be checked out because they're not at the top. So I'll be choosing 1st/3rd place competitor, Matt Sperling.
All right. That's probably a good pick. I've picked him 2 weeks in a row. Didn't want to do it again. He was maybe it was just because of the league weekends, and he just kept getting bested by Stanislav Sivka or LSV, or it just always seemed like the top was pushing him
Right,
down.
it's totally a different story when you're at the top. You're playing against LSV and,
It is.
and Sivka every round.
But it still has that like bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He did okay too. He got like 12 and 13 points.
Yeah. So with my last pick, I will be picking. You know what? I'm gonna pick Mike Sigrist.
Good pick. Okay, with my last pick, I'm gonna pick someone that I just like. I think they're a great deck builder. They always bring their own thing, and that's always fun. And they have shown a little like for bringing teamer adventures in both formats. That's kind of the thing they tend to do. So I'm gonna pick Chris Botello, and I want to see some teamer adventures, old school style in Historic, coming to the top here from Chris.
Very good. All right, so Jeff, now that we have finished our teams, would you like to read yours down for the folks?
I would love to. All right. So my season-winning team is, from the NPL, we have Reed Duke, Javier Dominguez, and Andre Strosky. And from the Rivals League, Luis Scott Vargas, Yuta Takahashi, Matt Sperling, and Chris Botello.
Very nice, very nice. However, my season-tying team is going to be Seth Manfield, Ken Yukihiro, and William Huey Jensen for the MPL. And then for the Rivals, I have Gregorz Kowalski, Luis Salvato, Riku Kumagai, and Mike Sigrist. All right. Now for the hard... Well, actually, this next one isn't as hard, but metagame. Man, meta. Okay, so we talk about metas on the show, obviously. And, man, guessing a metagame for a tournament is hard, obviously, because that's the whole point.
Yeah. I was going to say if it weren't, we'd be pro players, but that's not the only thing stopping us.
No, it's not. That's not even it. It's just like picking the right deck for the tournament is hard. Though
some people have made their names on being able to do this.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill set. Guessing what everyone's going to bring and whether the deck is good enough that you should also bring it, or if you can build a deck that will beat that deck. Those kinds of things. It's difficult. So with that, what do we think the highest meta percentage deck will be for Standard in this specific tournament?
Okay, starting with Standard.
We are starting with Standard.
Yeah, I could go first if you want.
I mean, yeah, go ahead. I already have mine locked in my mind, but...
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with the Boogeyman here, Sometimes you go with the Boogeyman, sometimes you go against the Boogeyman. I'm choosing Sultimatum.
Yep, that is the pick. I did not pick that last time. And the game just hasn't changed. I mean, or the meta hasn't changed since then.
Yeah, I've heard it's a little bit on the downswing, but I still think enough people are going to bring it. Like last time it was, we're talking like a quarter or more of the field. So even if it's on the downswing. Yeah,
and now we have a bunch of other players coming into it that might bring some really cool, rogue decks. Not rogues decks, but rogue decks. Maybe some
rogues decks.
But I still just, it's going to be a mainstay. It's popular and it's powerful. People want to play it. So top performing Standard deck. Man, I feel like it's hard. Like we were saying before, I've been really enjoying Historic because Standard feels a little solved a bit. Last league weekend, the best deck was Mono Red. But I don't think enough people are going to bring Mono Red. Yeah, by barely anything. And then the one right by that was Sultimatum again.
Yeah, which I had picked.
Yeah. So, so I kind of feel similarly. I want it to be rogues. I want it to be mono white. I want it to be anything else. But I really, again, I don't know. I don't know what other deck you should play. Maybe the Prismari mid-range deck might do something, but I still think that it's not favored against Sultimatum. So I'm just going to probably go double Sultimatum because I don't
double up.
I just don't see. I could try to be more interesting, but it just means I'm going to lose. I have to go with what I think is right.
I think the Prismari deck's kind of... I think that's just like a classic 47% deck that people like, so it gets played more than it should get played.
Exactly.
I honestly think that the deck that performs the best in this particular event will be some flavor of adventure. The problem is I don't know which one it's going to be. Yeah. But I'll take my shot, and I'm just, I said I put Naya into the mix last time. Nobody brought it. I'm going to say that Naya's going to be on the rise. Naya's going to prey on these Prismari decks, because I think Naya would just eat it for breakfast. So I'm going to put Naya Adventures.
Okay.
But I reserve the right to boast if the answer is Temur or Gruul Adventures.
All right. I would like to remind you that one person did bring Naya Adventures last time. So
yeah.
it wasn't no one. It was just not a lot of people. But one matters. The meta percentage for historic. So, man, last time we should have just I feel really dumb from last time. I had the worst one.
But you know what though? LSV was saying that he didn't want to play Tainted Pact because even though he acknowledged that it was the best deck, and so he brought his Jeskai deck and he went 5-0 against Tainted Pact. But I thought more people were going to react that way because of issues with the client, and also I don't know, the deck's just kind of a nightmare to play and play against and stuff. So I figured more people would opt out of that experience, even though I knew it was the best deck. So yeah, I should have gone double Tainted Pact last time, but I don't know. I was just a bit surprised that there weren't more people in LSV's camp of, I'm going to try to beat it just because, I don't want this to be my experience, because it's all about clock management, arena clock management.
Yeah. And clicking in the right, have you seen those things? You have to click in the right sliver of the
correct,
box so that you can spam it without declining.
And that's what I meant. I was counting on more people opting out of that experience.
Yeah, because it just sounds...
Now, I still shouldn't have picked Gruul. There's no defending that. I
don't know.
Nobody brought it.
I mean, I picked some terrible stuff, so I'm not judging anyone. This one just seems hard. I don't know if there's a homebrew deck people are going to bring. I don't know if teams are working on the stuff. I don't know.
I have a pick I'm pretty confident on. If you want me to go first.
I mean, if you want to go first, go ahead. Shoot away. Swing away.
Okay. I'm thinking that the highest proportion of the metagame will be Izzet
Phoenix? Okay. Shoot, that was one I was going to pick. I was between...
You can still pick it.
I know, but I was in between Izzet Phoenix and Jeskai Control, and now I feel like I'm just picking what you picked.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, I just think this is the type of deck that it's kind of similar to Rogues, where the general population will do worse with it than when it's a tournament with so many pros in it. You know, it's a difficult.
But a lot of people will bring it because they think it's the best.
Or not necessarily difficult to pilot, but it has a lot of decision points, and that tends to mean that the pros will have a better win percentage with it than
okay.
most people.
I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to say Izzet Phoenix, because that is the first thing I had thought of. However, I will go next for the top performing deck. And I do think that Jeskai Control, but like we were talking about before, one that has its own game plan. They're using the Gear Hulk and all that, and getting their Magma Opuses in and everything. It just seems pretty strong, and you'll be able to mop up some stuff. However, you have more experience playing that deck, but I think playing against it, it's been pretty rough, and I think it's a good one.
I've been playing a deck with so much discard that Jeskai's kind of a free win, because you just leave them with their cards that suck and just take their Teferis, and then they don't do anything. But when against stuff like, if people are playing all these aggro decks, then
Yeah, for
Lightning
sure.
Helix is just an absolute unbeatable card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good deck. I'm gonna take a shot here. Yeah, I'm gonna take my shot. I'm just gonna run it back. I'm gonna say that Tainted Pact is gonna be good again, even with Jace. Now this might be too early because the metagame's still a bit unsettled, and that deck needs to know the metagame. It needs to know what it's beating. But I'm still convinced that Tainted Pact is too good, even with Jace instead of
Thassa's Oracle.
Thassa's Oracle. Kept wanting to say Kiora's Oracle. I'm like, that's not what it's called. Thassa's Oracle. But this is, but I think it's one of those moments where the people that do bring this deck will have figured it out, and so they'll do well with it.
Gotcha.
So this is going to be one of those shots that maybe nobody even brings this, but I think if this tournament were a few weeks down the line, we'll see that the Tainted Pact deck is a real part of the tier 1 metagame.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I like that shot. That seems nice. It definitely would be a surprise if it just like continues to bust through, and then they're like, "Whoops, maybe we should have,
Yeah,
banned Tainted Pact."
Exactly. Turns out that there was another card that did the same thing, and it's actually just better of a card on its own.
And it's more of the same. Thassa's Oracle feels like there are different ways you can play it. The saddest thing about Thassa's Oracle is I can't play my treasure hunt deck anymore.
Yeah.
Cheapest deck I ever built. It was great.
You know what I was noticing while we were discussing the historic metagame earlier, just while all the decks we were talking about now, with the exception of the deck I just picked. But is it just true that red is the best color in historic? Because almost every deck that we talked about plays red.
That's
like
true.
Gruul, it's Rakdos, it's Izzet, it's Jeskai, it's like they're just all red decks. Mono red. That is true. I wasn't actually thinking about that. It's funny because not all the red cards are the ones that I love about it, but cards that have red in it are really good. Interesting. Like, I guess there's some people play Orzhov Auras or Silver Quill Auras. Mm-hmm. So there's a red list deck. But you're playing Jund. Yeah, okay. Even the Tainted Pact deck is Grixis, right? Yeah. Or it, sometimes has those cards, or there are a couple of them. It is funny because like not all the decks are so like Jund, right? The reason it's red is because you're playing Korvold / Mayhem Devil. Mm-hmm. But most of the time that feels like a black card to me, but obviously it's both. But I feel like red has none of the best cards in Historic, but it's somehow the best color because every deck plays red. Interesting. I like that take. I like the red's the best color in Historic. Is that a hot take? Should we just... That's a really hot take. It's a red hot take. It's a red hot take. Exclusive red hot takes. Yeah. We should just name this episode Red is the best color in Historic. Okay, wait. Let me look. What decks did I pick? Ultimatum? Crap. Oh, no, that's not in Historic. Okay, Jeskai controlling Izzet Phoenix. Perfect. All right, so Tainted Pact has a little bit of Grixis. Red in it. Yeah, a little Grixis, yeah. All right. You heard it first from us. Red's the best color in Historic. Doesn't have the best cards in Historic, but it's the best color. It's the best color, yes. Without the best cards. I like it. So I think that, we're getting the last call right here. Definitely. Yeah. Let's grab another beer. Let's grab a juice box. Which juice box will we pick? Yeah, I'm gonna pick juice box. I'll let you know right now. I'm definitely picking juice box for sure. Okay. All right, Jeff. Are you ready to see which juice box is the best one? Felt like you had something there. So I don't. I thought I did, but I didn't. I don't have it. Which juice is the best box? There we go. That's okay. Let's do that. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey! I love it when that happens. Yeah, it's really great. So we ended up choosing each other's. I'm just gonna crack this. Yeah. Well, okay, let's be clear. We both chose Juice Box. We both chose Juice Box. However, I happen to just like Jeff's Juice Box better. Wait, I don't know. Wait. Are we cutting that out? Maybe that shouldn't be part of it.
Oh my god, fuck me. Oh god. Anyway, Jeff, let's start with your juice box.
So I chose Juice Box brought by Zach,
Yes.
which is a hazy IPA made by Sons of Kent.
Yes.
And you know what? It's fine. This beer is a East Coast style IPA.
Yeah.
It's hazy. It's juicy. That's why it's called Juice Box.
Yep.
It delivers what it says it is.
Yeah, it's all right. Oh, before we get into this, we should probably explain the rating system. That's probably good.
Oh yeah, before we
idea.
rate it.
Before we forget to do that, like every episode. Sweet.
Not every episode. We do it like once every 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, that's enough, right? Anyway,
By which I mean we remember to do it once.
So, as always, we rate our beers on a scale of bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. Hey, isn't that fun? Just a disclaimer.
It's really lucky how that worked out.
Yeah, I don't know.
That our rating system just lines up exactly with the ranks.
That's pretty sweet. We do have a disclaimer. If these are it's just a fun way to rate beer. It has nothing to do with what tier you're in currently. Everyone's been in all the tiers at some point. Doesn't matter. We're not trying to belittle anyone.
I was in most of the first 4 earlier today. So.
Yeah, exactly. So to start us off, bronze. So bronze beers are trash. They are garbage. They belong in the garbage, and that's where you should leave them. They're just really bad. It's the kind of beer where like something's wrong with this. I don't know what happened, but it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. And next up is silver. This is basically like your generic macro brew. Nothing interesting about it. Like you're not going to throw it out, but you're not excited to drink it.
Yeah. It's silver is really great for beer pong, let's say.
Okay. Yeah. Or if you're drinking 40 beers in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Gold this is fine. You won't think about it very often, but you'll drink it. It's all right. It's very forgettable.
Right. Platinum's like one level up from that. It's solid, and you would drink it again. It's good. But you're nothing to write home about. But it's a good beer.
It's a solid beer. You might pick it up.
Yeah, if you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that one. It was good, and you'll get it again.
Diamond this is exceptional. You go to the beer store or wherever to get this. You're thinking about it. You recommend it to your friends. It's something that you show people. You just think, oh, this is awesome. I really like it.
Yeah, and then Mythic, the absolute best. You see someone considering buying this at the store, you tell them, hey, you got to get that one. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's like the reason that you drink beer at all.
Right. Because beers like this exist.
Exactly. So going back to the beers that we brought for today, the boxes of juice, Sons of Kent is fine.
Fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It is solid gold. Solid gold?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, it says what it is. It's a hazy IPA. It is East Coast, and it has that juicy aspect to it, which is why it's called Juice Box.
Yeah.
That being said, I think there are plenty of versions of that hazy
For
New England style IPAs
that are better.
And some of them are really good, and this one just doesn't speak to me on that level. So it's fine, and since you were attentively listening to our beer rating scale, you know that's a gold beer.
Yeah. I do want to note that I did feel like it has a little bit of a there may be a little there. So there is a taste in this beer that I don't love, but it just reminds me of like socks, which is.
You had to wait for me to take a sip to say that.
Just to say that. It's just like a random thing that I've tasted in mostly green teas and things. That's just kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's like the finish on it or something, but it just reminds me of that for some reason. Everyone's taste buds are kind of different, and people taste things differently.
Taste is a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just a thing that kind of threw me off. Not that I thought it was like gross, but it was just like, oh, okay, this is one of those things that has that taste that I don't super love. So it also didn't seem
socks. Wet
socks
is not exactly a sought after flavor.
Exactly.
So.
But let's go over to the other juice box, the one that you brought that I am drinking. Yeah, so this is, it seems to be like this, they may only make this
Yeah,
beer.
that's what I was wondering as well, just because it says juice box. Where does it say it?
Yeah, like beverage company.
Beverage company, yeah.
It doesn't necessarily seem to make other drinks. That seems to be the drink they make.
It also says Toronto, London, Ontario, Canada, and so I don't actually know where this is made.
Yeah.
Because Toronto and London are nearby. They're close to each other, kind of.
They're both in Ontario.
Yeah, they're both in Ontario, so...
Anyway...
Does that mean they have 2 locations, maybe?
Maybe.
One in London and one in Toronto, and both are in Ontario.
But anyway, this beer, to me, it seems like a beer I would bring to the podcast, so I'm really interested to know why you would bring this, because I've seen this before and I've wanted to bring it, so I was really surprised that you brought it.
So... I alluded to loving the little guy in the like juice box.
Yeah, or the person on the
citrus armor. Yeah, sorry, the person.
I don't know. They have long
gender
hair,
undetermined.
Possibly, I can't tell. Maybe that's a mustache, actually.
I don't know. Looks like their lips to me. Anyways, if I look closely, I actually think that this person might be female. But anyways, the art is cool.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We don't have to gender the beer label.
Yeah, seriously.
I have no idea. They're non-binary, probably. It's Pride Month.
No reason to get into this discussion. But the reason I brought it is literally one reason and one reason only, and that's because at the bottom of the can, it says 5% alcohol. The reason that intrigued me is that this is like a shandy. Right, it's lemonade beer mixture, and usually when you see those, they're like 2.5% because you're literally just taking a 5% beer and a lemonade and filling it half and half, watering the beer down to 2.5%. So when I saw that this was craft beer with lemonade and it was 5%, that made me think, okay, there's something more interesting going on here. They're either, adding lemons to the fermentation of the beer. They're usually using the like natural sweetness of the beer as their sweetener for the lemonade. I'm not sure totally what their process was, but I knew it was more interesting than let's just, have a cup of lemonade and a cup of beer and I'm going to pour them and see what comes out. Which is kind of my issue with, not issue, but it's the reason I don't love shandies and radlers in general, is that I feel like I would prefer either the juice or the beer and not the mixture.
Because obviously I picked this one. And this doesn't have the same, obviously it doesn't have the same feel as like a shandy or a radler. But I do enjoy a really nice radler on a hot day. However, I usually want to mix it myself. I would like to pick the lager and pick the juice and just do it so I can pick the ratios. Usually I won't buy it because it's the same price as a beer and it has less alcohol, and that's usually why I don't care for it.
And a lot of sugar. Buy the pre-packaged stuff.
For sure. However, this one's really sweet. As far as like juice goes, it definitely tastes like lemonade and raspberries. You can smell the raspberries right when you pour it.
Definitely. As soon as you open it, it's just like smacks you in the nose with the raspberries. You're
like, whoa! I really thought this was going to be a little bit of a hint, but it's quite nice. I'm mainly grading this on a fact of like, this is totally something that I could see myself pulling out of a cooler with ice and being like, sick. It's so hot. This is the kind of thing I want to like refresh me with. Most other occasions, I wouldn't think of it. But if it is the right temperature at the right, is the right temperature in the glass and the right temperature outside, A+. However, as far as the beer goes, I'd probably say it feels pretty gold as well.
I don't think it really meets the qualifications for silver or platinum, so I guess that just makes it gold.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, because there's definitely something going on. Like, it's definitely different. It's not just like blasé. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay, this is different. I don't feel like it's super solid. I might tell people to try it because it seems interesting. But it might not be something I pick up a lot. I don't know. It's the fun to like try. It's definitely fun to try. I don't know if it's one that I will go back to a lot to be like,
It was still a bit too sweet for me, but it wasn't overwhelmingly sweet like a lot of these Shandy Radlers and things tend to be.
Interesting.
But again, like the first sip was definitely just raspberry for me, and because I was just surprised at how much raspberry was in there.
Which is great. I think they nailed the raspberry lemonade feel. There's not a ton of beer flavor, but
I was wishing it was just a bit more like carbonated, so it felt a bit more like beer.
Yeah.
Just a little more malt. Like if instead of using a lager, they used an ale or something. That's just a little more beer flavor. Because lagers tend to be pretty clean tasting.
Yeah, and fresh already. But yeah, I think I love having both the juice boxes. That is so fun.
It was just
even though they're nice and gold juice boxes.
But they're both so different, right?
That
was the other cool thing. Is they're both called juice box, but they're not alike one another at all.
Absolutely, completely different. So those are the things we think about those things. Which kind of
well summarized.
Yeah. I guess maybe that should just be the thing for the whole show. Those are the things we think about those things. Oh, I like that. However, that will bring us to closing time. Yes, it's very eloquent.
Closing time.
Hey, the singing's back. So we are closing up the bar now. It's time to go home. You just can't stay here anymore. However, you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, you can also find us on the other side of the table. On Magic the Gathering Arena, our username is Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg, Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at BluesBrewsMTG.
And we would love any reviews on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, anywhere that you can find them. On YouTube, leave us a comment, give us a like and subscribe. That'd be fantastic. Follow us on Spotify and Stitcher, Podbean, anywhere that you can find us and you're listening to us right now. We would love any support and feedback. That would be great. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that if you're not playing Red and Historic, you might be doing it wrong.
Good night. All right, that's fine.